Oh, and one more quick thing. You'll notice these panels go away as Amy brings up her screen to share. And you can bring those back by just moving your mouse to the top of your screen, and a little drop-down menu will appear. And you'll see those buttons to bring back the participants and chat windows. And if you don't see Q&A, you can click the little options menu there and click on Q&A to bring that panel up.
Thanks, Sean. Good afternoon. So is everyone seeing my PowerPoint with these are little emoticons? Okay, good. Okay, excellent. So like Sean said, I manage our CCC Online self-help instructor support, and I also have created, along with training and professional development, Sean, a lot of things that would be valuable for you to assist students or to help you get your courses ready. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the CCC Online Knowledge Base, and we're going to look at what's on it. And I'm going to refer to it as the KB. That's in tech world, that's how we refer to the knowledge base, is the KB. And what we've done over the last year or so is we've kind of moved our content, and it's moved around and it's landed on this new location. So it's great that they're giving us the opportunity to share where this information is for you all to make things a little bit easier on yourselves. Go help yourself out and not feel like you have to submit a ProfHelp ticket every single time, because I think some people don't submit tickets because they feel like, oh, I already submitted two and I have questions. So maybe this will be a place that you can review some things that maybe will help you out as you get your coursework started throughout the semester. So what's on the KB? We have listed instructor KBs, FAQs, like frequently asked questions. We have some stuff about semester start, accessibility resources, which we'll talk a little bit more as we're looking at some of these items. And then the bulk of the information on the KB is support documentation for Desire to Learn, instructor information about email and portal, and digital content, and then also our Faculty Gateway, which all of you should be familiar with, is the Faculty Gateway, where you go submit grades or no-shows, those type of things. That's just a high-level overview of some of the things we're going to look at. So how do I get to the KB? The URL for the KB is kb.ccconline.org. And so I'm not going to sit here and talk the whole time because we're going to go check it out. So let's take a look at it. Okay, now on the screen you should be seeing the KB. Does everyone see that? Okay, thanks, Allison, for the smiley face. And yeah, okay, good. All right, so when you come to this is, I don't know if you've ever used a KB before, but when we build the articles, we put in what some of the keywords. So maybe you're having a problem with something, you can search by keyword like quizzes. As you land on this page, you can see that there's recently added articles, things that we've just added, featured articles, which I haven't marked in yet, popular articles. Okay, so if you recognize this Pearson MyLabs Access link, you can raise your hand because I visited that page 2,800 times, or someone else has viewed it as well. So we do know that a lot of our support issues are around digital content and Pearson, like students can't get in, that type of thing. And then the top rated articles, which I believe are things that people are voting, like, okay, this was great information, so I'm going to give it a vote so that other people can find this valuable information at the KB. Okay, so searching is one way to evaluate, to get content. So let's say I wanted to look up something about quizzes. If I just type quizzes in the search bar, then if Amy has properly tagged all these items, then you'll be able to find any type of article related around quizzes, which is most likely going to be D2L quizzes. Okay, so that's one way to find information on the KB, is by a keyword search in the upper right corner. Okay, I'm going to navigate back to the home. As you'll see in the upper left, there's like navigation bars, our search, news, glossary, login. KV Home is probably the one that you would use the most or search. Okay, then on the left, we have, you could search by, oh, I'm not really sure, I'm having some problems that I'm not really sure what I need to do at the beginning of the semester, or maybe what are some things that I want to know about the beginning of the semester start. So you could search by expanding the hierarchy here under each of these items. Okay, so semester start, there's 11 FAQs. For example, the course readiness checklist. Okay, how do I get my course ready? What if I report a student in error and they are dropped? So if I wanted to review that article, I could click on the link and then the article will load in the right window. So then it just gives the basic information about what you would do if you accidentally dropped a student in error, and then how to go to the re-enrollment area. Okay, so that is pretty straightforward. Under our instructor FAQs, we also have an accessibility resources, which are, accessibility is a big topic right now. We are implementing accessibility in all of our web-based things. So Sean has been doing a great job helping get information in the KB as well about accessibility, how to create accessibility content. So Sean, do you want to just pop in for a minute and talk a little bit about accessibility, since it is something that we really need to be aware of in our courses?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a couple of reasons why you need to be aware of accessibility. One big one is if you are working as a subject matter expert in one of our content developments for a course. So in that case, you're going to be creating some content for explorations and assignments and things like that. And in that case, you would really need to be aware of how to create that information and that content in an accessible way. And the other reason you would need to be aware of that is just as an instructor as well. You know, we do a lot of things as instructors, even though our courses are created for us essentially already. We're posting in discussions, we're posting in news items, you're maybe even creating your own supplemental content that you might share with students, or even things like videos that you're creating to give a tour of your course, or some people even like to give video feedback for assignments. So in all of those cases, you really need to be aware of accessibility and how to create that information in an accessible way, so that any students who may have disabilities are able to view that in the same way that every other student in the course is. But that term disability is really kind of one that we don't even necessarily want to use, because accessibility is really just a broad thing that extends to a whole lot of people that we don't even necessarily traditionally think about. And there's a really big move in CCCS right now to make sure that all of our content within the next year or so that we're putting online is accessible. So with that being said, just real quick, there are two main articles here. One of them is resources for creating accessible content. And so you'd be using those if you're creating content from scratch, if you're creating Word documents or PDFs or videos for courses and things. This article gives you a lot of resources for how to create that content accessibly. And then the second article is resources for checking accessibility of web content. So these are, there's a little bit of overlap here, but mainly these are resources that are used if there's content that already exists that you're finding that you might want to link out to or put in your course. You want to make sure that you're directing your students to websites and to content that is already accessible. So these tools will help you check to make sure that those websites and that content that exists out there already is accessible. I think
Excellent.
That's about it. Yeah.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate that. This is a constant, this area is forever changing. We update it as we update product versions, or new information is always being added. So just keep that in mind, that this is not stagnant. These articles change and new information is added all of the time based on the needs of CCC Online and the students and instructors. This is really an instructor resource. We have talked about getting a similar resource for students, although there are things on here that in our support area, so I'm just going to close up our instructor FAQ area here. under support that can be utilized for both instructors and students, mainly under the digital content area. So these are kind of the subcategories under the available support that I mentioned earlier. Our D2L, our Brightspace by D2L, there's 74 articles. If you expand, you'll see that there's information based on a lot of the tools. I know that Sean has spent this summer, let's see, let me find one. Let's look at Class List. He's been adding videos to these, so a lot of times it depends on your learning style. If you just like, short and a few pictures, or you prefer a video to guide you through that process. So a lot of the pages now have the step-by-step instructions, click here, or there's also a video that Sean has done a great job putting on here so that it meets all learning styles, and so you can successfully accomplish what you would like to. Okay, so we have the D2L area. Then also, again, email. This is going to deal with like CCCS email. How do I get help? You know, things around that, the portal. And a lot of times our new hires find a lot of this information, and maybe you haven't had troubles before with some of these, so you might be able to visit and get some information that you didn't know about. Really, one of the areas that I spend a lot of my time on recently is our digital content areas. If you didn't notice or know, obviously if you didn't know about the KB, you wouldn't have known, but we've been started a folder for each type of our vendor that we have, and there's specific information in here to help support the issues around maybe those digital content links or, you know, student access or what their browsers need to do. So for example, if we look in the MindEdge folder, we actually have two articles. One is about system requirements, and this is usually listed in the course, but also if we get student support calls or instructors are saying my students are having problem accessing this, then we have a page where we can send them a link to go out and do a little bit further investigation either on instructor and student side. So mostly digital content pages are valuable for both. Obviously, this one is a reset a student's quiz attempt. That would be more instructor driven, but since we don't have a specific student KB at this point, we've incorporated some of the digital content stuff because we also give some of these links that are valuable for both students and instructors to our 24/7 help desk. So we're trying to kind of compile all the information into one area so that if there's a change, we can make the change in the one area, and the help desk and the student support and the instructors are all at the same time. So that is a very high-level overview. One other thing that we're coming up on 3 minutes. I feel like I'm talking at lightning speed. I usually talk very fast anyway, so I'm sorry if I've skipped over something. If you have a question, please just let us know. One thing that you can do, and I do believe that there are a few people who will subscribe to an article. So let's say that you know you have this MindEdge content in your course. You can come down to the bottom of this and subscribe to the article. So and when you do that, you actually have to, when I click subscribe, I have to provide some information and an email address. But what will happen is then if I go make an update to that article, you'll get an email notification of a change. So that's kind of nice, and that way if you're kind of watching certain things that are, you know, high requests, student emails are coming in a lot on certain topics or, you know, digital content or, you know, discussions or things along those lines, you can subscribe, and then you know if, oh, hey, it looks different because the vendor D2L changed how we interact with discussions, then you know that we've updated the content around supporting that issue. Okay, so we do have a question. Anne wants to know, how do students access videos to show them how to submit to the Dropbox, open a new discussion thread, et cetera? Well, Anne, that's a great question. Like I said, this is not this is a instructor KB. So there are not those specific videos on this site, you know, because this is instructor driven at this point. We do have help.cccs.edu, which is our 24/7 help desk. there is a KB that students can search for those types of things. And there may not be a video, but there would be instructions on how to attach a Dropbox item or do a new discussion thread. And so I know that information is available because I've reviewed a lot of those articles on our vendor KB, which is our 24/7 help desk. So that's where you should be able to find some of that information or point students to help.cccs.edu. If we do branch out and get a student KB that looks like this instructor KB that we have, we'll for sure notify all the instructors as that is getting built by our student support area. Great question. Sean, is there anything that you could see that would be valuable since we're right at the 2 minutes here that I didn't touch on?
There was one thing I did want to mention about the videos. That one that you showed was, as everybody could see, it was embedded in the knowledge base page. And I think it was the Jenny one. So that was great because it was really obvious that there was a video on there. But I guess I wanted to point out that they're not all like that. So like this one that you're seeing right here, it's embedded so you can see the entire video on that page. And the newer videos that we're making have captions on them so that they're accessible. And right now we don't have a way to embed the captioned videos in there. So I'm trying to think of one that would have that. I can't think of anything off. Well, if you go to the calendar and events section in D2L tools right there, right near the top, I think either of those, view events or remove events. So yeah, you see, so right at the top of this page here, it just has that line that says click here to view a video tutorial. So ones that are captioned, they'll look like that. They're not going to have the video actually embedded. It'll just be that line at the top of the page that has the link. So I just wanted to point that out because it's a little bit harder to see. You wouldn't notice it right off the bat, but keep an eye out for those. If you do like the video tutorials, you'll find them like that. I think probably on the majority of them right now they're like that, or maybe it's about 50-50, but hopefully we'll figure out a way to embed caption videos soon. But yeah, right now that's just the way that we have to do it.
Excellent.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything else. I mean, from just like a high-level overview, I think we really just wanted to introduce this to you guys because it's a pretty new tool, and I think there's a lot of folks that don't know that it's here. And like Amy said, it's a really great way to get some of your questions answered without having to submit a Prof Help ticket, and that helps Prof Help a lot because that lowers the number of tickets they get, but it also helps you guys because you don't have to go through the trouble of putting in the ticket and waiting for an answer and for a response if it's something that you can just search in here and actually find the answer to pretty quickly, and even find a little tutorial for, find some instructions for. That could be a lot easier to get your question answered that way. So if you guys have any other questions, this is our lightning webinar, so we're going to try and stick to that format and finish up pretty quick here, but we'll stick around for a couple minutes. If you guys have questions about the knowledge base, just please ask them and put those in the Q&A panel so we can keep track of those. It looks like Ann O'Brien had another question. Is there a link to the knowledge base in D2L for us?
No, there is not. So this would be a good time for you to bookmark it and in your browser.
Thankfully, it's pretty easy to remember because it's at our ccconline.org domain. So it's just that kb.ccconline.org. It's pretty easy to remember, but yeah, like I've bookmarked it myself, so I remember where to find it. Any other questions from anybody? Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us for our Lightning webinar. As I mentioned, you're going to get that feedback form that shows up as soon as you leave the WebEx session here. So please do give us your feedback on the session itself and the content, but also keep in mind the Lightning webinar and let us know if you like that format. If there's anything else you'd like to see us do with it, we'd love to hear about it since it's pretty new. Feel free to take off. We hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend, and we'll stick around for a minute as people are leaving, and if you think of any last-minute questions, just let us know. And thanks very much to Amy as well for, number one, putting together this whole knowledge base. This has been a big project that she's been working on, and also for taking time to come and show it to us today. We really appreciate that, Amy.
You're welcome, Sean. Yes, Anne. Anne's question is, should I refer students to the help desk if, for example, they cannot post to the Dropbox? Yes, that is our student resources, our 24/7 help desk. They're the first line of support for our students. So if it's something that you're unable to kind of guide them in a direction, then yeah, I'd recommend they chat or call in on our help desk, and those agents are definitely trained on how to assist with those types of issues. Bye, Anne. Have a good afternoon.
Oh, I just realized we had a question in the chat window from Dania. She was asking if CCC Online will notify us of students with accessibility needs. I believe that they will. Yes, I believe the way it works is that students submit their request through their home college, and then their home college gets in touch with our student services department, and student services should send you an email or contact you to say that you have a student that has accessibility needs. And sometimes, like I have a student in a course right now who just sent an email to me and said, hey, I have accessibility needs. And I asked our student services about it, and they said that the proper way to do it is just to let him know that he needs to submit something through his home college, and that then they'll contact our student services and they'll let us know. So even if students contact you directly, you should have them go through that route. Yes, that's true. You will know if you have students with those needs, Dania. But in regards to accessibility, one of the big things about it is that it's not, as I was saying, the push for it is not just for people who have kind of the traditional definition of a disability. Accessibility really extends to what people call universal design, which means that it's something in the web is designed so that it's really easy for people to see and get the information from, and it's easy for everybody. And that includes just things like having, the right contrast between different colors on a web page, or even in your news post or a discussion post, things like that. And that helps everybody read the information on a page, not even people who have traditional definitions of disabilities. So, if you go to a page that has a bunch of flashing blue colors and stuff, and you can't really read the text on it, that page would be considered not accessible. And even if I don't, even if my vision is pretty good, that page is inaccessible to me and doesn't really meet universal design. So that's kind of something that we're trying to let people know about, and trying to spread the word on that as we push toward that accessibility staff. But thanks for asking that question, Donnie. That's a good question.